welcome to the State of Scrims podcast. This is our third episode this season. We have just finished week 2 of Scrims. We actually get to talk about all the games this time instead of down one. Mason, you actually just came off a game. How are you feeling this week?
We don't talk about that game. We're still working on some stuff as a team, so I think we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Spectres is looking gross. Definitely a team to watch out for.
Yeah, I think people's predictions may be a bit off. Spectres definitely should be up in that top spot. I think overall, Andromeda's probably looking a bit worse than expected. MVP's looking a bit better than expected. And then I think everyone else is probably falling about in line with what people thought. I guess Metabusters might get bumped down a spot because Spectres is doing so well. But I think people's reads are mostly correct. But yeah, if anyone is noticing, repping the Dignitas merch, Sam S hit us up at LCS Finals. So I guess cheer for Dignitas in LCS. And I think they're doing Fortnite Worlds or something. They're really good at that, apparently. So go check that out if that's something you're into. I'll be shameless. But
yeah.
Yes. I wish I was not feeling sick personally, but otherwise good. All right, Mason, anything you want to talk about in particular to start us off, or should we just go right into the meat of it?
I think we should probably we can just dive right in. Rift 2-1, I believe, versus MVP? Or who do they play?
Not Busters.
Not Busters.
We 2-1 lost to MVP, which technically we still haven't talked about, but
yeah.
Do you want to start with that one? We can do that. I'll pull it up.
The 2-1 MVP.
Yeah, the one that we lost.
Let me go look at the game. I don't remember that one in the slightest. There was I think there was another Lilia Udyr matchup, which Lilia is looking ultra dog shit in this matchup apparently.
Somehow,
guys, if you build Rally's Crystal Scepter, I promise Udyr cannot play the video game. But that's a different argument.
Yeah, so this game I actually didn't play in. I felt like we drafted. This series I didn't play in. I felt like we drafted pretty solidly in all the games, and I think we did a pretty decent job of executing on it. I just think some things went wrong in game that we've talked about as a team and are definitely planning to correct them. But I don't know.
I think MVP also played really well. Recognizing that they are losing the. No, they didn't lose. Anyways, just recognizing that Heroic is a lot of your power points using the Kassadin pick to wipe the floor with PB in the next game after you get wiped on that kind of thing. That was really smart.
PB?
Good adaptation.
Taxi?
Taxi, yeah.
Yeah.
PB's gonna fucking slaughter me for that one.
It's okay, we'll cancel the podcast.
Restart.
True. I mean, they can actually hear us this time, so no, we're not doing that. Hold on, let me balance the audio real quick. Okay, that should be better.
I think in all of these series, we're seeing a lot more Diana. I think Metabusters used it in their first series to great success, and then we lost on it recently. But I think the champion's still good. There's a lot of flex potential in the pick if you want to use it like that.
I mean, I think
very interesting series.
My take on the series was we were looking at it and we were looking at their practice games and stuff, and we were expecting to see Heroic play a Assassiny early game champion. So we kind of drafted around that, and then Asol, and then Victor, and then Kassadin. So we were kind of not really prepared for that game plan, which obviously is going to happen to any team that you're playing in your first series of the season, just because you're not fully used to it. But yeah, I think that kind of screwed us over a bit. We were playing a bit of a defensive comp, and then you can't really defend if you're getting outscaled. So I think that first game draft was a bit rough. But I think in the second or the third game, the second one that we lost, I think we played more aggressively, and we were really close to closing that game out. But obviously, Kassadin gets online. Heroic was actually able to get some kills really early in the lane, which put us in a bad position. But I think I'm with you. I think Diana was a champion that is really strong that we weren't expecting to be present. And I think Kassadin, the same. I don't think anyone is really looking for him to show up. But he's been showing up a lot in pick ban, which I think is interesting.
There was the secret Riot buff, right, where they put 20 extra AP AP scaling on his ulti. I think that's like a huge contributor to that
Oh, what do you mean
champion.
secret
A
riot
lot.
buff? Is it like
They
a...
didn't put it on the patch notes.
Oh, that would
Yeah, their
explain it.
deadass is a 20% AP buff on his ulti that is just not in the patch notes. Like it's really really goofy off, in my
Okay, well
opinion.
that would explain a lot. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Um.
shout out Joel on that series though. We just slapped him on the croc 3 times in a row, and he absolutely dominated the lane. Neither Stanley or Ilana were able to achieve that when they played into MVP, which is a series we're going to get to later. But I just think that is a bit interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that
I,
series was like a week ago. I think we can move on from a
yeah.
Rift Sharks loss that surely should never have happened.
Something like that. It was just a. It was a good series to watch. Would recommend going back and watching it. I think Aya was doing a little bit better on like the Nefiri pick and stuff like that. That was pretty solid
Oh
play
yeah, that
that out
was
of them. So
filthy. The
yeah,
Nefiri
that
is
was
so
really
good.
yeah. But if you want to move on to the next series, I think it was the
It's Rift Sharks
uh
versus Nutbusters is the next one. Let me see if I
yeah.
can zoom out a little bit so we can see all 3 of them on the screen. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Or that might be too
Yeah, this was
small to
a
read, so we'll go back.
no. I know. I remember what happened. To be fair,
Oh, me too.
game one, I think Rift Sharks just played like a really like this was like a bit of a draft kingdom from them. Blinding the Katarina is kind of sus into Zach because he knows the Katarina counters, but I think the rest of the draft you just got so much advantage out of being able to first pick the Katarina like that. Um, the Soraka, Nyla, Dean, and Eric have been playing this all fucking season. It's really fucking good. I mean, and people need to start respecting that shit. Like, I don't know why people are like, "Oh, Dean's washed." Like, he literally performs on Nyla every time it's locked in. Like, I don't know what. Anyways, it was just a really good
I
draft,
might
good
be M4
scaling,
on her,
stuff
guys.
like
I
that.
might I might have actually
Yeah,
played her a couple times, but
yeah, just a really good series. Game two. I'm gonna say it. Yasuo comps are not good. Dean is getting baited by this Yasuo pick, but
it's fun.
okay, true. But you got gapped on by Will's Twitch, bro. Come on, man. You
Wait,
can't be
Will
doing
Switch
that,
is
bro.
good. We cannot be shading that.
No, bro. Like I just think it was just a an ego move, and then you just kind of brought it back game
I mean,
three
yeah,
because they decided to
I won't
game draft
argue.
for fun.
It
So
was an ego move. We're kind of happy after the first
yeah,
game. Weren't super focused on draft,
yeah,
and the only thing
which
we
is fine.
discussed before is like the 2 melee ADCs are both pretty good counters into Twitch, so you could probably slam one of those if we're leaving the Twitch up.
Yeah,
So, and it got to the point where there's 1 second left to pick, and I say, "Are we picking something?" And then the team goes, "Wait, we're drafting." So I panic and lock in the Yasuo because it was the
that's
first thing
so
that came to
fucking
my
weird.
mind. But yeah, I
Okay,
mean, I think it was probably closer than it should have been, and they made a really good level 1 play that obviously set our solo lanes back. If Malphite and
yeah,
Pantheon get ahead, and also Hidiri got screwed over by it, there's not much he could do. If those
yeah,
champions aren't behind, then you have more damage, and I think the comp does a lot better. But it is
yeah,
really hard to execute if you're all playing around one play style, because,
yeah.
we're lower elo, comms are a bit scattered in general. And
Uh,
then game 3, oh, he's gone. Yeah, I guess we can move on to game 3. I'll see if I can figure out what happened to Mason. Uh, oh, okay, he's
Alright,
back. He's back. He's back.
I was closing DMs real quick. Sorry, accidentally closed the wrong one. But
So true.
yeah, really that read was kind of right. So, um, and then do we want to talk about the draft game theory? I feel like they're just egoing for fun, and it's like they're
Okay, no. See, what I want to talk here is I think a lot of people are talking about like Nutbusters possibly mental booming over the course of the season. I think that's the wrong take. I think they're going to survive through the season. The thing is, they can't survive through 3 games. The amount of like just chaotic energy in that voice call, I think you get 2 solid games out of them, and then I think it goes a little haywire. I've played with sign up scrims with Adam before, and he goes, "Yeah, these series that go more than 2 games, I just can't do them." So I think they just get a little like for funning it at the end. I
yeah.
wasn't super surprised to see a crazy draft. And
Um,
honestly, seeing Adam on Zaya and Zach on the Rakan, they're both really comfortable in those champions, and I think they played really well. I just think compositionally it's
yeah.
hard when we can just draft three champions that can just one shot squishies, and then it gets pretty hard for
Yeah,
them.
I think I talked to Mike a little bit about this, and I told him like I don't think Kindred is really the pick here. Like Kindred is a really strong jungler right now, but if you pick like an Aatrox or like a Bruiser champion in the jungle, like he's known for the Aatrox jungle. He played it a couple times. I think
Yeah, that
the comp
that
gets
might have been a bit
radically
doomed.
different. Like unironically, I think both Zach and Adam played their respective picks pretty well in terms of like they weren't like super gapped in lane and they were still making like pretty active plays. So I think this comp could have worked out for them. It's just a little bit of a misexecution, a little bit of misdraft, but
Yeah.
that's my hot take.
I
But
mean, I think it's pretty interesting, and also like I get baited into picking a champion that I maybe not super happy with into the matchups. Like there's a lot of flex potential
yeah,
there, and they're able to deny a lot of like really good picks away from the game.
mhm,
I
yeah,
think if you draft the Zyra Khan earlier, maybe you get a bit more out of it. I don't think conceptually though it's like as bad as people think because you're putting
yeah,
these like this team's used to playing like weird styles anyway, just because of the
yeah.
players that are on it. So if you're just giving people like heavy comfort, I don't think. Sorry, I'm dying. I don't think it's that bad. And honestly, towards the end of the game, it felt like some of our fights were slipping away. And if we weren't focused on closing out the game, I think it could have gone a lot worse for us.
Yeah, no, that was generally the read I got. It was like I think it was just a bit of a closer game than it could have been, or it should have been, honestly. But I think Kadiri also did perform really well in the Kazakhs, so well played to them. So,
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you get
uh,
no Malzahar, but I do pick the bug. So my
Dean, why
apologies.
are you acting like this is an accomplishment? I'm
It
tired
is.
of this, bro.
I
No,
told you
it's
the
not.
bug
Kazakhs
sucks.
is
I'm not
not that
picking it, and
fucking
then I
good.
picked it. I gaslit you
Yeah, but you
successfully.
fucking told me the Malzahar was coming out. Anyways, my
I
bad.
didn't. I said he could practice it.
All men do is lie. Anyways, let's
So
move on
true.
to the hot button topic of this week, the Andromeda versus MVP series.
Is this the hot
Um,
button topic?
no, not really, but we had like a funny ass section in season discussion about it. But
Is it bad that I forget who won? Oh, never mind.
no, it was
I
Andromeda.
recall. Yeah, okay. I
Um,
remember it being a banger, and I don't know. I just spaced.
so this one I watched the stream and I also VOD reviewed the game for fun. I think Heroic played really well in all three games IMO, but I think Andromeda just sort of outmentaled them and just like kept playing the game. I think the adaptation to start putting Jonah onto the Maokai was super big for them. Like he was getting a lot of good ultis, a lot of good flanks, just being super useful in every fight. The adaptation to also go toward the Lucian Nami and just try to slam bot lane, I really liked out of them as well. Like the Lucian Nami, the Lucian Milio, both did really really well into Liz and her Jackson, who was subbing in this series, and I just think they just sort of took over the game off that, which was really good. So
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with most of your points. The one thing I do disagree with is I don't think Heroic had a great game three. Um, like,
oh
obviously, his lane was fine, but uh, the amount of Rumble ults that did what you draft Rumble to do was literally
was zero.
zero. I'm not sure I
Yeah.
saw a single ultimate that hit more than one person. Um,
Mm,
honestly, it felt like there was just a bit of tilt after that second game, and there just wasn't a recovery there. Which
yeah.
honestly, like, understandable. Mental is a huge part of the game, so
Yeah.
obviously things aren't going to go your way all the time, and being able to kind of like bounce back from that is pretty important. But obviously, we saw last season MVP as a team. At least game to game doesn't really struggle with that too much, and even in finals they got absolutely slammed in game two and then came back and closed it out. So I'm
Yeah.
not expecting this to be a big concern throughout the entire season, but definitely in
Yeah.
that game, it felt like it was a factor. But yeah, that Lucian Nami and Lucian Milio adaptation I think was really good because Alex and PB were definitely the strong point in game one, but they were on Zarya Khan and they weren't really able to close the game out
Mm,
because you have them coming on, but they're coming online way too late in the game. So
yeah.
if they're able to kind of like use that to get a huge lead earlier in the game, especially in the second one, I feel like the Milio draft was so much better under the Rakan. I feel like the Nami
Yeah.
is just you feel like it's the standard way to go, but I think Milio is just much better in this game. They're able to get a huge lead. And Jonah just on an enabler is a lot better, especially because I is going to be playing so aggressively. You're able to just kind of play safe, and you have like a lot of defensive powers, as well as the engage from the Maokai ult.
It was I think Jonah deserves a lot of credit for this game. Be willing to pick like the weaker side of the Udyr matchup, and like being able to match Eye on like an early game jungler was pretty crucial for them. So
yeah, do you want to talk about top lane? I would like to talk about top lane.
Are we talking about the role swap or the top lane in general?
Just all of it. There's a lot to break down here.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We could come back to it if you want.
Yeah, we can come back to that. Okay. I feel like that's like a more of a fun topic. We can just go ahead and talk about my series. Guys, I'm washed. Stop banning 5 of my champions, bro. I'm so dog shit at this game nowadays. To be completely fair, though, I think in game 1 we were pretty competitive for most of the game. I was doing pretty good on the objectives, but we just lost that dragon fight, and our team just kind of collapsed for the rest of the series, which was really bad. But really well played the Spectres. They were drafting the way we expected them to. They were drafting towards their strengths like they always do, and Cerberus coming in as a sub, I think he's just doing really well. So well played to them on most of it. The MF Leona is a interesting thing because I don't think we've seen it at all this season, but it makes a lot of sense. It's like kind of hard to punish and stuff like that. So I really like that out of them.
I mean, I think MF is just Bean's like most comfortable champion on ADC from what I can tell. And the support pairings are really good. It goes with Mythic strengths. I think Leona and Nautilus are very similar. So even if he's not on his like most comfortable champion, I feel like Leona is a good substitute. But yeah, as you said, drafting to their strengths. Dude. Hi, sinuses. But yeah, they're all really good skirmish players. And they kind of left Avery alone to 1v1 in the top lane. So everyone was just able to do exactly what they wanted to. And I completely agree with you. Game 1 was going completely in your favor. And then, as I was saying on the cast, I don't know if you definitely haven't been able to watch it yet. But, I was saying Cerberus is on a tank, right? And normally he plays like playmaking champions, but he knows how to just get right in a fight and kind of disrupt people. So he kind of goes into the dragon pit, right, and draws aggro from all 3 of the people in the pit. And then Cam hits an insane Diana ultimate, but there's no one to follow up on it because 3 people are trying to DPS both the dragon and the Sejuani. And at that point, it's just over. And I guess your mental, as you said, probably followed suit. But I think it was just a really heads-up play. Like, you'd think Cerberus is just trying to steal the dragon, but it does a whole lot more than that. So
yeah. And then game 2, it was just a bit of a rough draft, I think. I don't think the Nocturne did what we wanted it to do. I was trying to like play more for like a level 6 spike, but most of the plays just kind of fell through. They were just playing really well around it, and a lot of props to them for setting up a draft that played around it really well. So
yeah, I mean, I think Cam was getting a lot done in the late game. Like, the Neferi damage is ridiculous, and I think if you just stop some of the bleeding earlier in the game, you can actually get a lot done. The ending of that game looked a lot closer than the first one did. Like, I don't know how you make that game look close when you're down 11k gold, but I don't know. There's part of me that goes, they might be able to pull this off, but I definitely don't think Spectres looks unbeatable. But you just have to pay attention. Like, you can't lose focus against this team. They're going to be a really hard match for any other team in the league, and I don't know. It's a bit rough, and I think that was probably a weaker showing for Metabusters overall. But
I'm washed, guys. Please just stop banning my champions. I'm actually so dog shit at this game. It's insane. Like, I'm not actually D4. I'm Emerald though. It's villager time. You know how it is. It's a struggle out here. Joining Blake in the retirement home soon, TM. So, but yeah, really good series from Spectres, but Metabusters looking a little rough. I'm sure we'll bring it back, in my opinion, but we'll have to see, I suppose.
Yep. I think the 2 things I want to talk about real quick before we can go into that top lane stuff is I think Valor subbing out versus Andromeda is definitely a huge factor in how that outcome of that series goes. Valor, while he wasn't really like dominating lane versus us, he definitely made it a very tough fight. and I don't think he would have played the same way Jackson did. Even if it's just having a larger champion pool, it felt like they were kind of locked into the Zaya every game, and it makes it really easy to draft around. And then do want to shout out Bean. I feel like that substitution actually didn't make much of a difference. I think this group of people is all very used to playing with each other, and I don't think doing like the plug and play swap was that big of a deal. Also, I think they've been practicing the role swap for about a week beforehand, and I think
they put reps into it. So
yeah, I think practicing as a team with these different roles is definitely super impactful, and I think teams that aren't practicing as much might not struggle overall with their roster, but if you're making changes, then it's really noticeable. But yeah, we can head into the top lane discussion if you want. I think we can.
Okay,
let's skim through all the series that aren't the one that we really want to focus on, and then we can kind of go to the meat of it. But I think
wait, so we're doing top lane for the entire.
We'll just do this week in top lane.
Okay, sure.
I think the first series is pretty straightforward. I think Joel, we just lock Renekton. Puza can't deal with it. I think it's pretty simple. We saw Darius bans get drawn every game. Joel does play it a little bit. I think that means that we're definitely going to see Darius bans versus Spectres from MVP. It seems like Puza just doesn't want to deal with that champion at all. So if you can lock it in versus them, that's a good strength. Do you have anything to add to that series? I don't think there's too much.
Not really. I think there was like a couple of like weak points in like finishing out the game for Joel on like this champion that tends to fall off, but I think that's something you can definitely work on as a top laner. So that was like the only real issue I had with his play on the Renekton. I think for the next series, which was I think we can skip the MVP one, but for in Meta Busters versus Spectres.
I was gonna do Rishark's Nutbusters.
Oh yeah. Shark's Nutbusters. I think Joel. This is a return to form for Joel. The weak side top laner. Playing the tanks into Adam. This makes a lot of sense because I think Adam is like a really good top lane player and tends to skew towards more carries. So I think that was a really good adaptation because I think Joel can kind of match him on tanks a little bit. So I think that was a really good adaptation.
Our comms during this series were hilarious. Joel in the third game pretty much is just like, it's over for me, guys. I'm not even playing the game. I just hope we win because I hate this team. Why are they playing ADC marksman tops? He was so upset.
I heard some that less than PG things were said in that game from other sources, but that's like the TLDR on it.
I mean, I don't know. Our chat is a little exciting. None of it is like mean spirited. He just was not having a good time, and did not like playing into Turbo Cringe champions 3 times in a row. We have Gwen, we have Aatrox, we have Zaya. I don't know. We were just like, I'm sorry, Joel. We're giving you 2 tanks. I think 3 tanks actually. The Maokai wasn't even for him. I was like, Hidori, what champ do you want to play? And he wasn't saying anything. I was like, let's pick Maokai. And then we're like, well, actually, just make Joel play Maokai. And then I don't know. It was rough. We make him play Maokai, and then he's into Zaya, and it's so bad. But no, I think he played really well weak side, and I just think these 2 series back to back show the range of Joel. He's able to play the strong side really well, and he's able to play the weak side. And obviously, Adam, insane performances every game. He did not have a bad game that series. I think them having both Russ and Adam on the roster is a threat for sure.
Yeah. Avery is saying we need to stop top laner abuse. My brother in Christ, I'm pretty sure in the 2 seasons you have played, you have gotten every single champion you wanted in draft, bro. Come on, man. We can't be out here lying on main.
I mean, he was forced to play Ornn a bunch, no? Does that not?
No. He got to play Riven and shit in our games, bro. Come on, man. We can't be lying on main football.
So true.
And then I think Dom actually did kind of well in both series. I think the Yasuo game was a little closer, but I think there was just some like itemization issues that you can kind of work out, but in the Rumble game, I think he played super fucking well. Lived a lot of dives from Sarverus and Avery, and it was just really good. So
yeah, I mean the Rumble looked really good. I think the Scion. I mean, this just comes down to counter picks, right? So I guess if we want to look here, all the way at the beginning, blind Renekton twice, Scion, fair matchup. I'll take that. This matchup, the Renekton Yorick, not good, but it's comfort, so I can That's fine. I'll pass on it.
Yeah.
Gwen into Ornn, good counter pick. Malphite into Aatrox, I'd argue is a good counter pick. We just didn't execute super well.
Yeah.
And then Zaya Maokai, I'm not discussing that. There's not a matchup there. It's not real. We're going to skip this series for now.
We'll come back to this
But
one. We'll come back.
Avery gets counterpick into Scion, and I think he makes Noam look a bit useless. Noam played really well, though. Like, there were points where Noam could have died. He makes a good ult play, gets out. I think he played the map really well. I think Avery also did. And obviously in the second game, he made a lot of outplays. Rumble is just a really powerful champion. And he had the counterpick into the Darius. Avery still wanted to get some kills, so he played a little aggressive, went a little flippy, but I mean, he did get that 1-for-1 under the tower. So he's definitely showing that he knows how to play the lane, and he can force these 1-for-1 trades in a matchup that's not favored to him. So I think Avery comes out looking a lot stronger here, but by no means did Noam play poorly.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
Now we get to get into the fun series.
Okay.
God, this pains me. The amount of agony I was experiencing in draft, right? So Puza they ban out. Actually, let me see if I can pull up the drafts. That would add to this conversation.
Yeah.
Did someone ping me in Captain Chat? Okay. Okay. We will get our games to predict. Probably not this podcast, so we might just have to submit ours in the season discussion, just so you're aware.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I totally just clicked the wrong draft links, but okay, let me see if I can pull them over. Okay, sorry, that took a bit. Got a little sidetracked. Okay, so the Mordekaiser's banned, right? And that makes sense. It's a good counter to Urgot, and you feel like you can probably deal with the Alawi as Urgot, I'm assuming. Because at this point, they don't know the flex is possible, right? Yeah. Because good strategy from Andromeda. They cooked it up. They bring it out. They go, this is probably a good way to counter MVP because we can send our stronger player into Puza to punish him, right? So anyway, draft is going fine. They ban the Mordekaiser. They lock Urgot. This is good. You ban a counter to your champion, and then you pick your champion. Then you pick Gwen into Urgot, which is a hard losing matchup. Because there's nothing Gwen can really do, because Gwen wants to be on top of you, which means A, you can't miss Fear Beyond Death, and you can't really miss E either. So Gwen has to play out of her mind to maybe have a chance to do anything here.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a huge fan of. Also, you draft Gwen when you have Zeri, Ahri, and Lilia as your other damage sources, so you're not splitting your damage. So this just... It's the fact that Stanley did well at all here is a small miracle. He went 7-7, which is about 7 kills more than he should have had. I think the lane was really interesting. I think Puza played really well. That was probably one of the best games we've seen from him so far. But
yeah, okay. So there's been a bit of debate on whether or not this lane swap accomplished anything, and I in my VOD review of the game, I think this lane swap did not accomplish what Andromeda wanted it to do. Heroic was hard slamming the Ahri in lane, right?
Yes.
He was getting free farm. He is playing Vigar. He's going to sit there, press cage on the fucking Ahri, and then the Ahri is going to fucking die because the Udyr is going to walk at her with a fucking Veigar and just kick her ass to Kingdom Come. And then Lilia can't also play the game because I think Jonah decided to go for Leandries instead of Rylai's like I was talking about. And I think Stanley played the lane in a way where he couldn't punish Puza as hard, and that's like the thing when you flex players out of their main role. They don't really know how to set up like the correct punish in matchups that could win. Like they could be way better than the opponent, but they don't know the lane, like how you want to like set up freezes and stuff like that in top lane. And I think the counter pick did not actually accomplish what they wanted it to do. Stanley got a bit ahead in kills, but it just didn't convert at all. He got like one good TP play the entire game, and then just sort of split push forever while the Vigar is like free farming. And like, I just don't think the counter pick in this game accomplished what you wanted it to do. Like the flex did not work in this game at all.
And I would argue calling it a counter pick is just a straight up lie at this point. But
yeah.
Anyway, I think
they wanted it to be a counter pick, right?
So
and it just
you lock it in. I don't know. I think there's other champions you can pick here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I won't leak anything. I know some strats that Stanley's been cooking up, but he disclosed them to me because he's not doing them against my team and asked me to keep them secret, which I will respect. But moving on here, we go to game 2. We get into the second half because top lane and mid lane aren't touched until the second half in both games, right?
Yeah.
Same type of things going on. Now, Andromeda is banning Vigar and Asol, which is fine. They're blinding Mordekaiser, which I think is good. It's Alana's one of her better champions. However, what is the champion that they banned because they wanted to play Urgot?
Alawi.
No. They banned Alawi here in draft, but in the previous game, if they got to choose one champion to ban for Urgot, they banned Mordekaiser. So if the other team picks Mordekaiser, what do you pick? Urgot. No, you don't. What? What's going on?
Yeah.
So you have the Mordekaiser. Puza can play other champions that do better into it. Yorick's still up. Yeah. I don't think that matchup is terrible. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong. I mean, actually, yeah, never mind. It's pretty bad. I'm talking out my ass. But I feel like there's something else he could probably play into this pick. And Yorick might not be terrible. Yeah, I think actually the Yorick matchup I think is slightly favored into Yorick's favor, because what you can do is during the channel time of the ult, you know he's going to stand still for a little bit once you get into the death realm. So you drop the cage, run away, and then you're able to stall it out enough. And your early power is pretty solid. It's really tough to play though, because obviously you can ult the maiden. Anyway, if you know Mordekaiser is the champion, does your cage go with you? No, it doesn't, but that's why you wait for the ult to channel to complete and then put the cage, Stanley. Anyway,
because there's still like a little bit hard to CC.
Right. Yeah. Because you're he holds the stick out and then he lets go of the stick and then that's when you do it. This is funny. The field of view. What is my arm doing? I look like the meme people. But
yeah.
Anyway, if Mordekaiser is a champion that you decide you don't have a way to draft around, ban it instead of Alawi, right? Because big thumbs up, big thumbs up. There you go. But yeah, anyway, I think you should ban Mordekaiser over Alawi. They banned Gwen, whatever. I think it was probably annoying, even if it wasn't a great matchup. But you pick Urgot, it's a bit of a mess, and then Talia, and then we have a second really Giga Brain R5 pick coming out from Andromeda this time, which I like, and then they end up winning the game.
Yeah.
I also feel like Alana played really well this game, did well in lane. So the two people that have blind picked their top lane picks come out looking like the better top laner in both games so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think that they looked better in the game where both the players that played their main roles were when they put their players on their main roles, both of them looked like way better, right? Like I think Stanley did a little better into heroic than Alana did into the Vigar game 1, and like Alana was like doing really well into the Urgot, right? They were like, I think she was up CS a couple times, like she was doing super well. So I think just putting these players on like the roles that they have been playing for a while just like showed that they knew what to do in the lane. So I think that was like a super good point for them, and they played it helped them win out the game, I think, in that series or in this game. So
yep, I forgot to end Stanley's prediction. I did it for him. But yes, anyway, I completely agree with everything you're saying, except then we look at game 3 where it's all flipped on top of its head. Because, like, okay, so anyway, you do the same thing, except now you have Yorick, and I don't know, this matchup's a little weird. I think there's a lot of depth to it. I'd say probably it's about an even matchup, because the funny thing Yorick can do is if you cage the Urgot while he's charging up his E, he just does a little
cancels, right?
He just does a little hop and then doesn't go anywhere. And if you're able to put down just a bunch of minions and the wall, Urgot can burst them really quickly, but it's kind of weird because you can't actually control Urgot's W. It just auto targets, and it's just a bunch of weird interactions. But I don't know. If it's a comfort champion for Stanley, and I think this role is even enough, and there's a lot of like technique that you have to have on Yorick to know how to play the matchup correctly. So I think this pick is a bit more fine. But I don't know. I think Stanley made it look like the role swap did a lot this game, so I'll credit them for this one. But the first two games are just a bit yikes. I talked to Stanley after the game, and he said that he was really comfortable on the Urgot into York matchup because
Okay,
of his experience
that
with
makes
it.
a lot of
But
sense.
I don't know.
Yeah. I
I
think
just feel like
if
the
this
other
is the
two
game,
ones,
you
like,
could argue the roll swap actually did something. I think, uh, to be fair though, if we want to talk about just like the game in 3 in general, I think MVP just kind of collapsed after game 2.
yeah,
Um, if you watch the game, Heroic doesn't really group up for like these big rumble ultis on objectives like you were saying earlier, and I think that was more of the issue in that series. So, but yeah, I think if you wanted to like say roll swaps did something, you could maybe argue about this game, but
yeah.
I just didn't see it in what I
I
saw
mean,
in the
I
mods. So
think where you're benefiting is you've drawn out Mordekaiser and Alawi bans. So if you're able to draw out 2 bans, which kind of forces Alana off the top lane, I think it's a
yeah,
bit interesting. But yeah.
yeah.
But
But in
obviously, I
theory,
mean,
like
this game is
Alana,
just Lucian Milio, though, so I don't think it
yeah,
actually makes that
that
much of a
too. I
difference.
think it was Lucian Milio and like Maokai, like those 3 were just all over the place and taking
Yeah.
names, taking lives. So I think it was just it was a weird thing to see about the games. So, but yeah, I think this series was like a really good one to watch. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. Uh,
I think
the
all
Lucian
the
Milio
both MVP
was really solid.
series have been
Yeah,
really good so
they
far.
were all really good to watch though.
Yeah. I don't
Very
know.
interesting
I
team to
think
watch.
MVP so far is probably my favorite team to watch. I would say including
Uh,
my own team because I did have to watch that first game of ours.
yeah,
Does
very
that mean
solid.
that I'm rooting for them to win? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit scared, to be honest, since we have lost to them already.
Yeah.
But definitely want to be in charge of casting all their games because they're super fun. But I
Yeah.
think we can move on a little bit. Do you want to do our little meta overview here?
Yeah,
Because
we
we will
can.
have a lot more information. I will get the bands working eventually. We have them tracked. I just haven't been putting them on the site.
I think that some of the more key things to watch. I think Udyr has seen like a lot of bans ish, and also like more play than I was expecting. I think the champion is like weaker than people think it is. Like I think the Maokai was like absolutely dominating the matchup when they got the matchup. The Udyr also won the Lilia side of the matchup, which was very interesting to me. But I already talked about why I think that's kind of a fluke. There's also like the Diana presence in like a lot of these series. I think Meta Busters was the first ones to start using it, but Spectres also started using it for like Yasuo combos, which is like a pretty standard move. Risharks tried to copy that and kind of flopped on that one, but it was still really good. I'm surprised we're not seeing more Kassadin Prio, given like the 20% AP ratio buffs on his ulti. But now that I have put that out there into the
Yeah,
universe, maybe it comes out more.
the
Um,
sauce has been leaked.
Darius for topside has been pretty pretty there. Joel plays it a lot. Avery plays it a lot. He got it both games. It played really well. Avery's kind of my goat in that way. But yeah, I think there's not a whole lot else to talk about in terms of meta. No, like Garrett's
Yeah.
still playing
I mean,
Ezreal. That's
I'm
like
down
a
to
good
just look
champion.
at some of these
Yeah,
picks. So Zaya
go for
is
it.
actually our most picked champion by a whole 3 games. She's been picked 9 times. Second highest is 6. And yet
Uh,
she's 2 and 7. The
yeah, this
only
champion might be
players
a
to win on her
little
are
mid.
Hadiri and Jackson. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are just picking her because they think it's the right pick, which is
yeah,
something that I want to keep an eye out for in the future. I know it's like a good counter to champions and it's good in the meta right now, but I think maybe
yeah.
we could see a little bit less prio on it. It's also been a champion that's just been losing all season. Like whenever we're playing up the graphics on the stream, its win rate is horrendous.
Yeah,
It's
it's not
not
good.
something that incentivizes you to pick it. Conversely, Maokai is really good. We've seen it 6 times. It's won 4 out of the 2 times. The only times it's lost are that game where Jacob played it and then Russ played it in the top lane. So I believe every time we've seen it jungle, it's won. It's 3-0. Top lane is
Yeah,
50-50, and on support, it's a loss.
yeah,
Milio, however, is a very strong champion. It's 3-0 so
yeah,
far. I'm expecting to see more of it because it is a very engaged tank meta. And if you're able to play the Milio and disengage, that's really solid. However,
yeah,
conversely, for supports, Rakan is a champion that is considered like the best champion in the meta right now. Everyone should play Rakan. Yet it's 0-4.
yeah. I think that's just
two of
like a
those,
misexecution error.
it's been countered by Milio, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
If I load the games, countered by Milio. That game was just a bit rough. Talia was in the game, which made it hard. Countered by
Yeah.
Milio, and then it was mid lane. So I think
Yeah.
if we could find better recon spots, I think it goes a bit better. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Raka also doing well. I think the enchantresses are not dead. Is my read.
Yeah. I think so. I think a lot of like the jungle tanks are still doing super well. They're just like a lot easier to execute on, and carries have kind of just been flopping a little bit in terms of like performance. Uh,
I don't know. Do you think this
yeah, that's
Yone is
mostly the
something
read
that
I
we need
got.
to look at, or is it just
Potentially,
has it just been good in the two
um,
spots where it's been picked?
I think it's just been good in the two spots it's been picked. It has good synergy with Diana, like we were talking about. Like, there's like a lot of good spots for Yone. Like, it's the I'm scared of playing Yasuo, and so I'm going to pick Yone with Diana and do the exact same thing, but one has a little more agency outside Diana. So I
Yeah.
think is the read. Uh, but yeah, I think Meta is like in a really fun spot. There's like a lot. I don't think anything is like super egregious or like a taking over drafting kind of way. Like a lot of champions are just decent, and you have to pay more lip service to the players themselves rather than like some overarching meta. So I think it makes for really interesting drafts. So
Yeah. I
like I'm
think
getting 5 bans even though I fucking suck
true.
balls at this game. So
I think one thing we can do is just look at some stat leaders, just
yeah,
for fun. I don't know if this goes to
all
meta,
of
so I'll
Spectres is
change it.
just fucking insane right now. But
Yeah, I mean they're 4-0. That team has not dropped a single game yet, which is pretty crazy. But for
yeah,
KDA, Sarvis is at the top with Guru right behind him, and then
yeah,
Caesarius, Bean, and then Michaela is actually up there, despite her team being 0-4, has been
yeah,
positioning really well and making sure that she gets a lot of assists.
yeah.
So fair to
She's
shout
been
her out
playing super
there.
well.
PB's
Yeah,
up there. I'm right behind, and then Adam. And I just think it's very worth pointing out that two players on a team that's very far behind have been actually performing really well.
yeah. So shout out
Just
to them. They
interesting,
have been playing super well as
right?
well. Like if you watch the games, I think Mimi was really good in like getting her team the win in their first game, and I think Adam was sort of like a similar story
Yeah, he
in their
got
own
MVP for
series.
the game they won.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
and
maybe
Avery
I'm
is also
lying,
there. Like
but
a
yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing to look out for though is Michaela and Adam have actually not been in the same game though, because they were the best
yeah, that's
player
true.
performance-wise in across two of their games. So if we do get to see a roster where both Adam and Michaela are playing, I think New York Nutbusters definitely steps up a little bit,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
obviously these numbers are not everything, but still fun to look at. Leading the kill leaderboard, that actually I'm on top with 15 kills average per game, which is actually so illegal. I'm not sure how I have
That's
that
true.
stat line.
Actually, holy shit.
Surely I'm not maintaining that past the first series, but I don't know. I think I'm washed, actually. Heroic following, that's who you'd expect to be on top.
Yeah,
10.5 kills per game. Hadiri, Drago, Dave, Adam are following behind, and then Will, Alex, and Sarverus. I think part of this is just super high kill games from New York Nutbusters. They like to scrap. I'm
yeah.
surprised that we're not seeing Spectres higher up on here, but I think they just close their games out too fast. They don't go that long.
They play it too clean. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yep. I think we'll look at fewest deaths, and then we could do the most deaths too for the culture. I think it would be funny. Yeah, this is Spectres at the top,
Yeah,
and
they're just
then
like they're
Alex
getting their
PB,
leads and just holding on to them forever. Yeah,
right, and then you have our two New York Nutbusters players, weak side King Russ, and then Michaela
yeah,
with her positioning. But Alex and PB, obviously, very strong point for Andromeda. That Lucian Milio was terrifying. Definitely something that they
yeah.
can play through on that team. Highest deaths, we have Dominic, Drago, and Mike and Will. My teammates are repping the top
All
of the
of them are right there.
leaderboard. I think this could just be that our series have been pretty long and bloody in terms of game time.
Yeah,
Highest assists, we have three supports. We have Eric, Michaela, and Mythic at the top, and then PB and Dominic
uh,
are right up there as well. Caesarius shout out in the jungle. That first series from him was crazy. The amount of like map presence he had, I felt like it was really solid.
Yeah. I think to shout out Eric a little bit, I don't think he's gotten as much credit as the rest of or his AD carrier or Hidiri, but I think he's been facilitating like a lot of their plays, and it just so happens that he tends to die a little bit more than them because he's trying to set up these plays, which is kind of unfortunate. But I think he's been doing a really solid job in doing that. So shout out to him for that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I've kept him around on my team over and over and over again.
That's true.
I think he's maybe not the support that gets the most hype, but
I think
definitely,
he's just too consistent.
yeah, he does a lot of stuff that people don't really catch. The optics are certainly failing him, unfortunately, but
yeah.
I'm going to keep my mouse away from the KD. I do not need to be sorting my lowest KDA. That would be a little rude.
I'm getting called out in that one, but
Are
yeah,
you? Are you?
I think it's
Oh my God! Wait, you are 0.69.
yeah, it's not looking good for me. I'm washed, guys.
You
Please,
sure this
let me
is not
play my champion.
intentional? You just wanted the funny number, Mason.
That's
Sure.
true. Actually, you're right on that one. But
Yep.
I'm curious to see where the season goes from here. I think the teams are still pretty open. Like a lot of the teams still have room for improvement. And I'm just really excited to watch the games. Like, I just think there's like a lot of different teams that could come out on top still. Like, even the Meta Busters got O2'd by Spectres. I think they kept it pretty close for both games. MVP is
You're
looking-
distancing yourself.
I think they were kind of close. Like
I'm
I
just saying
don't
you're
think-
saying they. You're not saying we.
Yeah, we. Sorry, same thing in my brain. But I think we were close, and I think we can still bring it back. MVP is showing that they're still competitive. Or start like I think every team has dropped a game outside of Spectres, and like I think it's gonna be exciting to watch. So
Yeah, I mean, every series that didn't have Spectres in it has gone 3 games. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I think that Spectres is really scary, personally.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Scrims real quick. I don't know if you watched that stream
I
or
didn't
not.
watch those.
I
was
think
busy at work,
you
I
saw
think.
some commentary, but I think all but 2 or 3 players on this were actually eligible for it. Trying to think off the top of my head, but anyway, I feel like the Rift Sharks put on a show this series. Anna and Hidiri kind of smurfed it. Hong played pretty well in the first game.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the 2-13 Vayne performance.
That's my gut.
Healy played really well, so I think once he comes off that Andromeda bench, that's going to be something you really need to be scared of. He had a really solid performance into Rex, who is known as being like an absolutely terrifying player.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
so basically, I have a team that's like 3 Rift Sharks and then a Metabusters and Andromeda sub, and they're playing against Spectre sub. Honan, I feel like he was off-rolled, didn't have his best series, unfortunately. And then we have Jordan, who's like a newer player to the server. I feel like he played really well. I saw a lot of potential there. The second game, he's playing into Shaco, though, so I do not fault him for having a rougher series. But that first game, I feel like he was really doing what his team needed him to be doing to try and snowball that lead early. It just kind of fell apart. But then, I guess we have 3 teamless players on green team. Rex, I believe, mid is the only role he's not masters in. So the fact that he had pretty solid games there, too, is definitely really impressive. Jake's Kaisa looked super clean. It's fun to see him back in the server. He's definitely improved a lot since we last saw him. I think he climbed up a few divisions since then. And then getting to see Dave on support is not something that we're probably going to get to see on New York Nutbusters. So just him getting to show off that flexibility I thought was pretty cool. Played the Poppy to counter their comp in that first game, and then top damaged the entire game, I think, on Lee Sin's support. And the second game is like actually wild. So
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. That will be going up on YouTube like the rest of the games. Just working on some stuff for that. I want to make some graphics to kind of separate it from normal signups so that we can kind of spotlight those players. But make sure that everyone tunes in and watches the sub-scrims. I think it's a cool way to highlight some of our players that we don't get to see on our main streams. So that's always fun. I guess we don't have predictions to look at. I'll just pull up the season, but New York Nutbusters is actually not going to be playing any games this week. I think a lot of them are moving into school and won't have their computers set up in time. So expect to see a game play or a team play twice, which could be fun. Are there any teams that you're excited to watch their next game, I guess?
I'm excited to see if Spectres can continue the hot streak. That should be really fun to see. I think seeing if MVP can figure out some of the issues with their gameplay that occurred in like games 2 and 3 versus Andromeda and stuff like that, like cleaning up some of those late game fights and stuff like that could help them out a lot. But I think I'm tuning into every game, honestly. Like I think all of these series have been really fun to watch, so I would highly recommend you guys check all of them out.
Yeah, this is actually the full list of games that haven't been played throughout the first half yet. Each team still has 3 remaining opponents. That is how an round robin works, where every team has played equal games. I'm not really saying anything insightful here. I do want to give a little glimpse into a conversation Honan and I had after one of our casts. He asked me, I guess off the record, so I'm kind of leaking it, but I don't know. He was just like, "Is this season going how you like wanted it to?" And my answer was a resounding yes. I think the season has been really exciting. Lots of 3-game series. No team really looks like they have no chance, and no teams really look like they're unbeatable, except Spectres currently. But I do think that they will be able to be taken down. I think their opponents just looked like they were having an off series both times. Again, not knocking them. They've been playing really well. But I would expect Andromeda and Metabusters playing in form will probably be able to take at least a game off of them. But
supposedly I can peak higher, but we'll see.
I don't know. I've been enjoying the banter that's been coming out, though. I think out of the players and all the teams, I think Puza is really exciting to watch because he has really been embracing this underdog position. I don't know. He really wants to show himself off.
Narratives going on. I think we've managed to keep most of the banter civil, so I've been really liking that from all of us. I just feel like every team has just been getting along pretty well, so I like to see that from us. It's just been good vibes, I think. So shout out to you guys. It was a lot of fun.
True.
Making fun of me being retired. Looking the goofy ass drafts from Nutbusters. Like it's just been a great time to play the game here. So the Valzahar jungle shenanigans, we'll see it one day, right?
Yeah, surely. I mean, you could play it too. You could have played it today.
That's true.
It's actually probably good in the Spectres. They have a lot of mobile assassin champions that don't do well into it.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
So who's the fake one now, Mason?
That is an excellent question. My PayPal, sorry, there's some transactions that haven't finished going through. Avery, if you want to send me some more though, I can DM you my PayPal. It's looking a little light on the wallets right now, so just let me know if there's anything more I can do for you. I can talk to people, sabotage some drafts if you want me to. Just let me know, dog. Your secret agent is in the building. Don't worry about it.
All right, I think we can probably wrap it up there. We aren't fulfilling our hour requirement, unfortunately, but when I'm feeling less sick, I will have more time to plan stuff out. I think we'll be bringing Baked or Base back at some point. Just keep an eye out for that link dropping in the server. So,
but yeah, tune into all the games. Super fun season so far.
Yes, sir.
Definitely very close in terms of all of the games, in my opinion. So.
All right. Oh, also want to mention there might be some format changes for the season because Riot announced that preseason is being pushed back.
Yeah.
So we're not gated by preseason happening in the middle of November. So instead of the season ending right at the beginning, I think we might be able to add a couple extra weeks onto it, which means that we won't just have single elim bracket. We'll be able to get the big double. So that should be fun. Just need to finalize that, trying to ask people for dates and stuff. I think what it's looking like is just ending it right before Thanksgiving makes sense. But I think that should add some more hype towards the end of the season, I think. Having a long double round robin just ending with single elim could go a bit more interesting if we do double. But that is all for me. Any last words, Mason?
No. Stop banning Udyr. Champion sucks. It won one game. There you go. That's the closing message.
All right. Peace. Udyr sucks. We love y'all. Thanks for watching. Love the support. Bye.